All right, so we got a great topic today. Today we're going to talk about self-actualization. We're going to talk a little bit about meaning. We're going to talk about comparing your life to other people, and a little bit of, you're going to get a lot of clarity tonight. So Mark Twain, I got a great quote from Mark Twain. It says, Mark Twain says, the two most important days are the day you were born and the day you find out why. The day you were born and the day you find out why you were born. This is the key. The key in life, we're supposed to have meaning. We're not supposed to just live and compare our lives to everybody else and just, go with the flow. You're supposed to have meaning. Believe it or not, you were here to have meaning. You were created with something. Your soul, his soul, everybody's got a different soul. You understand? Everybody has a different metabolic system. Everybody has different. That's why we have to realize that I get a common reason why people are very frustrated with religion is very simple. They're comparing their lives to other people. And what happens is your mission is nothing to do with his mission. We come here, this is not the first year you're here. You're here from a past Gilgul. This is not your first time in life. You're here to fix a past life, something we needed to fix, and that's why we have this common tikkun. How do we know this? From Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was here to fix Noach. What did Noach do? He didn't stand up for the people. When the boat was ready to go and people were ready to die, what happens? He forgot about the people. He didn't encourage them to come to do tshuva. So what did Moshe Rabbeinu have to do? He had to do the complete opposite. All he was doing all the time was defending the people. That's why Moshe Rabbeinu and Noach they had to both do with the ark. So Moshe Rabbeinu was the Gilgul of Noach. So you could see, if you're not getting it in round one, you're going to come back in round two. So we're here to fix. You have to understand that we're here to fix. So very easy, a common trend that people are having is, first of all, we have low self-esteem, then we start comparing ourselves to other people. And this is very frowned upon. People think maybe if the law of attraction, if I look at the guy's life so much, I'm going to attract something. No, you're going to have the law of subtraction. You're going to lose at the end of the day. And this is something that we have to really bring out. And I speak to people all day long. I said, listen, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Why should I try that? Look, my friend's not doing anything, and he's successful. Or my friend's doing that, and he's successful. Rabbi Nachman has a Torah, and he says that sometimes the Satan, the evil inclination, will purposely give another person money. And this money doesn't come from the good side. It comes from the evil side. You know why? So he gives him a little bait. He gives him bait, so he says, you know what? If I just invest $1 million in 4 or 5 guys who are, they're Rashaim, they're not good people, guess what I'm going to do? From these 5-10 guys, I'm going to be able to get 200-300 guys out. So what does it do? The Yetzer Hara, you know what he does? I think he read the 4-hour work week by Tim Ferriss. So he basically, he works 4 hours, and the rest of the day, people are comparing themselves to each other, and at the end of the day, why should I do that? He doesn't do that, and he's successful. That's all I get across the board. He doesn't keep any dodge, they're getting married, they're having kids, and I have to go and pray and this. You understand? This is exactly what he wants from you. Exactly what he wants from you. It's like a person watching another person eat and not gain weight. They have a different metabolism than you. You can't do anything about it. Their metabolism has nothing to do with your metabolism. So you know what I tell people? Stay in your lane. What happens when you go in somebody else's lane? What do they tell you? Hey, you're not even, get out of your lane. This is my lane. Get in your lane. Why are you in my lane? It's funny, Tesla started coming out with a car that won't let you go into somebody else's lane. It automatically goes into your own lane. You understand? What does this mean to be in my lane? That means I will never be able to self-actualize. I will never be able to become the best version of myself if I sit there and watch other people. And I keep on telling people, you're getting knocked out on a fluke. You're getting knocked out because your mind is not in the right place. When you tell me, it's not fair that this person has money and I don't. Where's your mind at? What are you thinking? How much success are you doing? And you know what's going on? What happens? Wife sees a picture. Wow, look at this couple. They went on Passover vacation. This went on a $25,000 trip. And I'm home? And guess what? And I'm home? And I have to go clean for you? So how do you think that Passover is going to go? All of a sudden, Mitzvah Mitzrayim, she's got a sour face, watching this guy in Cancun, and I'm sitting there cooking for you. I'm sitting there cooking for you. Why shouldn't I should be there? Why am I here? You understand the problem? How all these, I said, what is the trigger of your fights? Explain to me the trigger of your fights. I want to know triggers. I don't care about why you fight. I want to know, how did it start? How did the trigger start? You focused on somebody else. You compared your husband to somebody else, even though your husband or your wife are tailor-made for you based on your tikkun. That means you can't compare. You can't compare people's lives. And what happens is you're busy watching outside, you're not watching inside, and you're not hitting your goal, and you're not in your lane. So what I see is there's a misalignment. There's a misalignment. Everybody's out of order, out of placement. If you focused on yourself, then you would have 100% energy and focus on yourself. And then you would be able to find out what your mission is in this world. Like I found out what my mission is, because I really don't care about anybody else. So what did I find out my mission? My name is Gedalia. That means my name is to make God's name great. And also Gedalia means to turn the dalit into a hey. To turn negative situations and think positive and make it into a hey. So I know that's my mission. So when I get up, that's my mission. I have to go in that mission, and everything else is nonsense. If this guy's successful, God bless him. If he's not successful, I'm in my lane 100% of the time. I don't go into anybody's lane. I have people that I know that are suffering. They tell me, I said, listen, you're suffering a lot. Why don't you come to the Breslov Center? We'll learn together. I'll help you out. No charge, for free. He says, listen, I want to go. I really want to go, but I'm concerned what people are going to think about me if all of a sudden I come to the Breslov Center. I'm Sephardic. What do they think? They're going to think I'm crazy. But I said, aren't you depressed? Aren't you suffering? Aren't you like completely miserable? Yeah, but at least what are they going to think about me? So if this is your mind frame, I said, I wish I could smack you right in front of the face right now. I wish I had a good smack, but I can't do that because we can't embarrass people. But what happens is people need to get smacked in the face. That means you'd rather stay in a synagogue that you're suffering. Instead of going to a place where you have spiritual growth, where people are growing, you'd rather stay in a place just because you're worried about what people say about you. I can almost guess where this guy's success is going to be. So this is one thing about being. Thank God I was able to break out of my. I didn't really care what people say. When you're living like that, you're really going to be able to self-actualize, and you're going to live with purpose. When you live like that, you know what your mission is. You're going to optimize. Abraham Maslow says a person must be what he can be. Your job in life is to hit your potential. You were given in this world. You were made from greatness. Your soul comes from God. You understand? It comes from God. Your soul is part of God. That means your person is born with greatness. And what happens? He takes the potential. You know what he's doing? He's comparing it to everybody else's mission. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. Stay in your lane. I can't tell people. Stay in your lane. But how about this one? Stay in your lane. So what happens is a lot of people, they throw away religion because they don't understand why other people are succeeding and why other people are not succeeding, and the numbers are not adding up. Like they need to have an answer. So I said, this is killing you. You're going to talk about Rabbi Nachman. He says in lesson 69 that when you actually compare your life to other people and you actually envy somebody, you know what happens? It's considered stealing. It's considered like you stole from them. That's why it's in the 10 Commandments. Do not covet. Do not covet. It's not like a fluke thing. It's do not covet. But if you see a picture on Instagram and all of a sudden you're in a bad mood and you start yelling at your husband, or because he's not providing for you, or whatever it is, you start comparing your life. That is a recipe for a miserable life. It's a recipe for a miserable life. Because somebody who's in his ego state, you know what he says? I'm always lacking something. How do you know you're in your soul state? What do you say? I'm abundant. I feel full. I have gratitude. If I'm in my soul state, how do you know you're in your soul state? When you have gratitude. So when you have gratitude, then God opens up and He lets you focus on what you need to focus. When you don't, God forbid, then you start looking somewhere else. You have social comparison. I tell people, your only problem is one thing, is you're not focused on your own life. You're focused on everybody else. If you change the focus, I hate to scream like this to people, but you have to do it. Because you have to understand the system. If you don't understand the system, you suffer. That's why all of a person's suffering, in Gemara says, it's a lack of doubt, lack of knowledge, lack of consciousness, lack of godly awareness. So now I know his job has nothing to do with me. You don't open up other people's mail. You know, it's funny how people make such a big deal about identity theft, right? Somebody stole my identity, right? They call, make sure the credit card's not taken. He stole my identity. He stole my identity. They make such a big deal. They tell all their friends how they had to go to the post office and change their this and cancel the cards about identity theft. But about your spiritual identity, that you don't really care. That you don't really care. That's okay. Spiritual identity theft, that's not a problem. But this is a form of identity theft. That's why the Yetzer Hara, he doesn't have to work hard. Rabbi Rush says that the Yetzer Hara nowadays, he's at the beach. He's at the beach. He says, what do I have to do? I have people comparing themselves to each other. Nobody's living with their virtues. What do I have to do? I have nothing to do. They will destroy themselves. And God forbid you should get sick because of another person's success. God forbid, which I hear this all the time. I can't understand why they're so successful. I can't, it bothers me. People tell me, I said, you need to go to rehab. You need to get your mind checked. How are you talking? How many times, not only for you to say those things out of your mouth, you must have been thinking about that 1,000 times. You don't just say those things out of Tourette's. You had to be thinking about it. You had to be thinking about him. You had to be dwelling. You had to be looking at the guy's life. And all of a sudden, it came out. So when you say something like that, it just doesn't come out of nowhere. It's coming out of dwelling. And this is, unfortunately, when you're doing that, it's like telling Hashem, listen, Hashem, you didn't give me enough. You didn't give me enough. I got the wrong end of the stick here. And that's where all problems begin. It goes back to the problem, ingratitude. I hate to tell you, but at the end of the day, everything else goes back to it goes back to ingratitude. So that's what we have to understand. Now, if I can just do one thing. If I can just change my focus, I can change my life tomorrow. Because you don't understand. When you're looking, you don't attract abundance to you. You block your channels. A person blocks his own channels. So he has to be very careful. Oh, this guy's, God bless him. God bless him. I don't want to have anything to do with his life. His life is not. And if you want his life, you got to take the whole package. You got to take the mother-in-law. You got to take the uncle. You got to take the whole package. That means if you want his life, you better be prepared. It's not just one thing. It's a package. And once you get that package, you're going to say, I wish I had my own package. I don't want his life. I'll be happy. I'll be happy with my own life. So let's get that straight. And you know, sometimes we think the solution is so far away. It could be just, it's right in front of your face. Sometimes the solution is right in front of your face. So where do we get this from the parsha this week? And it's unbelievable how this, I actually said, had this speech planned for this week. Also, before we say this, we said last week how the Nefesh HaChaim, it's very important where people say, oh, I'm going to do it. Let me just pray about it. Prayer is good, but prayer without action is not enough. You understand? Let's clarify that with everybody. Prayer is wonderful. God bless you. You can pray all day long. But action means I believe in the prayer. Just praying and just praying and praying and praying with no action is not enough. I just want to clarify that. That means you can have a lot of visions. Oh, I had a dream about this guy. I had a dream to do this. Okay, if you don't you need to go from vision to decision. If you just go from vision, you're just, all day long you're daydreaming. You need to go from vision to decision. And how do we know this? From this parsha. Look what it says here. When the Jews were splitting the Red Sea, what happened? God says, why are you crying out to me? Your prayer is answered already. Now you have to believe in it. That's why he says here, why are you crying out to me? Speak to the children of Israel and tell them to move. You know, I have a lot of guys that are singles. Yeah, I'm praying for a shidduch. But first you got to dump the girlfriend that you're not supposed to be with. That's how it begins. Don't pray with the girlfriend and sit there and think things are going to happen. What is she's going to get hit by a Bermuda Triangle? Where is she going to go? You got to begin. Okay, let's pray for a shidduch. But first I got to get rid of the girlfriend. I got to say, listen, you're not the one I'm supposed to be with. Then that's the beginning of the move. He says, why are you crying out to me? Let them begin to move. In effect, God is saying, listen to me. It's not up to me. It's not up to me. It depends on them. If their faith is strong and they march fearlessly into the sea and their firm belief will cause the sea to split. That means their faith will cause an upper arousal, an upper move, and then once the upper move comes, the lower move comes. So if we don't have this upper-lower situation, if you just have the lower, nothing happens. You have to create an arousal. Arousal means I have to take action. When I get rid of the girlfriend, okay, Hashem, I'm ready. I'm not just talking. Because you can be, you're bipolar. You're talking here and then you're doing something else completely. What are you wasting your time for? So I ask people, I don't know what's going on. What's the prayers are not getting answered? I said, did you dump the girlfriend? Oh, no. I'm waiting for God to bring me one. Where is she going to come from? A Concord to your house? How's this going to happen? So don't fool yourselves. Don't fool yourselves. You have a vision, you got to make a decision. And then the decision might be something that's very awkward for you. It might be something that's very scary, that's out of your element. But that's when you have to take the fear, and that's when you have to take the plunge. Because things are not going to give it. So people ask me, how do I know it's the right business? Sometimes you don't know. You just have to take the plunge. and you have to go in head first. That's what God wants you, just like what happened here. Because when you display faith in God, that creates miracles for you. That means if you are not displaying action, there's no miracles. Only action comes to you, only reciprocal action. Miracles come when you're all in, when you're 100% all in on faith and action, not just prayer. Not just prayer, because remember, prayer has to go through if it's felt in the heart. If it's felt in the heart, that means you do it. If it's just felt in the mind, it's not enough. Because you know you're not going to do it. You're going to hesitate. So don't pray for something. Take the action. Take the plunge. That's what the Torah is telling you. It's not up to me. Tell them to move. He didn't say keep on praying, God. He said tell them to move. It's enough. I heard enough. I know what you need to do. Now you got to do it. That's why fear, it's something that God's telling us 100 times. Do not fear. Do not fear. Do not fear. Because this is something He wants you. You know when you're growing your life is when you're giving and you're growing. That's when you know you're doing the right thing. If you're focused on giving and growing, then you are in your soul state, then you are flying, then your soul gets oxygen. Either you go for soul oxygen or you go for society's candies. But you can't, you understand? You know you're giving, when you're growing, you feel it. You feel the difference. And that's how we have to realize that this is the only way. Rav Abraham Tversky, he's the head basically of probably, I think he wrote maybe 30 to 40 books on psychology. Okay, he's probably the number one person in psychology, drug rehab, etc. He's actually tonight let him be a refuah shalema, and he has it, and he brings his whole maybe 30 to 40 books. I don't know how many, at least 30 to 40 books he's written, and he's an expert in psychology, drug rehab, addictions, etc. He's probably the number one opinion you could say, and he's actually a rabbi, believe it or not. So he says something. He says his whole business that he came out with, basically all his books, are based on this one line in this parsha, which is unbelievable. And it teaches us everything. That means the Torah is really the source of everything. Look what he's saying here. Because in order for us to live with virtue, in order for us to live in what we're supposed to live in this world, we have to have self-confidence. If you don't have a self-confidence, if you don't think you're enough, if you have a distorted image, that will never let you get to your soul state. When you don't feel like you're enough, what happens? Then you start focusing elsewhere. So that's something we have to work on. And self-confidence is something you have to work on. Abraham Maslow, the head of psychology in the 50s, 60s, he wrote many books on psychology. And he clearly says, everything you do registers in life. Either you go into growth or you go into comfort. Either you wake up in the morning to go exercise or you go to sleep. But don't think that those experiences they go away. No. Your brain registers every time you went against your nature and every time you went into comfort. Your brain registers this. So when it comes to make a decision, what do you say? I don't have what it takes. Based on your scorecard. You're going into comfort. Anytime you need to make a decision, let's go into comfort. Instead of going into growth. That's one thing. See, self-confidence, it's not something that you get in one day. It's little moves. Every time you decide to, instead of going into comfort, you go into growth. The plus one. The little moves over time become your success. It's not just, you don't get self-confidence in one day. It's by making small decisions. So he says that we're always either going into comfort or going into growth. Going into growth or going into comfort at all times. So it's not good to get into a rut. Because then the bigger rut we get into, the bigger we have to climb out, and then we have to convince ourselves that we're enough to come out of it. You get me? It's not just dealing with the challenges. Now you're going to have to be dealing with, do I have what it takes to take this on? You understand? Now we have two problems. One thing is the challenge, and next thing you say, do I have what it takes to... Now you're dealing with a double weight, and then it becomes much harder to get out of that state. You understand? So that's why we give these classes every day, because we want everybody to already start making different changes. You know, oh wow, today I got yelled at 7 times and I only reacted 1 time. Normally I'm 6 for 7. Normally I react 6 times out of 7. But today it was a good day. I only reacted 1 time. Not bad. That's a plus. You start becoming proud of yourself. You start saying, you know what? I have self-control. I feel good about myself. I have self-control. I control my emotions. You're going to hear right now what about controlling your emotions. What a big thing that is upstairs, and what it affects us. So he's saying here, and this is from the parsha of the week. It says here, It says when the Jews were in spying in the land, they said, we were like grasshoppers in our eyes, so we were grasshoppers in their eyes too. That means, look what he's saying here. This unique verse is the origin of all his teachings. All his teachings are based on this. If you think you're a grasshopper, everybody else is going to think you're a grasshopper. Do you understand how important this is? This is from the Torah. This is not from a psychology book. So he says, this is the emphasis of self-esteem. That means whatever you think of yourself, that's what other people are going to think of you. I know many girls that are in the wrong relationship, and they have no business being in this relationship. And the guy's cheating on them right and left, back and forth, in their face, and they won't get out of it because they don't have self-esteem. They don't have self-esteem to get out of this marriage, to get out of that relationship, because they don't think they're enough, and they're afraid they're going to find somebody else. So they get stuck in a crappy relationship where the guy dances around them, and they can't get out. So I said, your biggest problem is not the guy, it's your self-esteem. Because if a guy knows that a girl has self-worth, he's going to be attracted to her, and he's going to run after her. But when the girl knows she has no self-worth, he's going to do what he wants. A guy gets away with what he can get away with. That's the bottom line. So he's saying here, the Torah teaches a psychological principle of the greatest importance. The way you feel about yourself and how you think, this is the way others will perceive you. So remember, forget them, it's me I got to work on. The work starts here. So he says here, Rashi comments at this concept. The spy says, we heard the Canaanites say, look, the ants are crawling in the vineyard. So what happens is, over time, when a person he loses his self-worth and he loses his self-confidence, you became, first you were a grasshopper, then you went to an ant. It gets worse. That's what happens. It gets worse. Why? Because all of a sudden what happens is, when we have low self-esteem, we start developing a distorted image of ourselves. Nobody's going to marry, I hear this all the time, nobody's going to marry a woman with one kid. Nobody's going to marry a guy with this. Nobody's going to marry, you hear this all the time. They're generalizing. Nobody's going to marry, you know why? Because you're telling everybody, oh, but I have this. You don't go in there and tell everybody, telling them all your negative things right away. So people come with that story. Let me tell you my story. Oh, I don't want that story. I don't want to hear this. This is what I want to get. I want to go into a story. I want to go into a brand new chapter. I don't want to hear somebody's story of all the distorted images that they have. Because guess what? You're in the inheritance business. You're going to inherit that story. I don't want to inherit that story. So when you come and you meet somebody, you want to come fresh. You want to come fresh. You want to actually give energy away. Show positive energy. You don't want to say, by the way, if you marry me, I'm going to drain you of all your energy. That's what you're saying, basically. When you come there and say, I'm this, and I had this problem when I was younger, I had that problem when I was younger, blah, 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 blah. Maybe you're looking for self-pity, and the guy says, do I want to get involved in this relationship? I'm going to need 2 IVs a week with this girl. I'm going to need oxygen with this woman. Why would I want to get into this relationship? So the guy says, you know what? Call me tomorrow. That's what's happening. You don't go there with your merchandise, all your stories. You go there with a new story. I'm a brand new person. But that's what happens. People somehow they sabotage. They meet a nice guy. Okay, now let me tell them everything. And they go all the stories. And that's what happens. So all the negative energy goes to the person that said, I'm out. I don't know what happened to the guy. It was a great date the first date. But the second date, you gave him your whole trash bag. So the guy says, I am not interested. I see this happening all the time. I said, do you tell everything to everybody? Can't you say I'm a new person? Why do you have to tell all these stories to people? My ex, and my that ex, and my this ex. Leave your ex. Your ex did enough damage to you already. Why are you bringing him into a new relationship? Let the ex go. Let the ex go. Stop talking about the ex. Nobody wants to hear about anybody's ex. I promise you, especially if they were divorced, they're already in trauma anyway. They don't want to hear about anybody's ex. So what happens, we create distorted images. It could be that you're very pretty, you have a lot to give, but you create this, I'm not enough, I don't deserve it kind of thing. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve a good guy. I don't deserve, people tell, I don't feel like I don't deserve it. They tell me, I said, stop with the feelings already. You're saying that, what are you attracting? What do you think you're attracting all the time? So what happens? The guy can run all over you. This has to be told to people. But we get it from the Torah. You think you're a grasshopper, you tell, listen, I'm beautiful, but I'm a grasshopper. That's what you're basically telling the guy. So what happens is, when we have distorted negative self-concept, it deteriorates, and then we come with some crazy, distorted paranoia. Is he calling me? Is he not calling me? Is he going to text me? All this garbage. You're playing ping pong with yourself. All you have to do is keep your mouth shut, have self-confidence on the date, and say, I'm enough. I don't need to tell you. But what happens is you think you're going to get self-pity. That's why Tony Robbins is very good at breaking states. If you look at why Tony Robbins is so effective, why is he so effective? He does one thing very, very well. Is he goes in there and he'll break the state of the guy. The guy who says, okay, who's depressed here? Right? So a guy who says, I'm depressed. So normally, what does somebody say when you're depressed? Okay, tell me about your problems. You know what he says? Everybody give him a hand. He's depressed. Everybody, clap for the guy. So everybody gets up and gives him, and all of a sudden gives him a hand for being depressed. And then he tells him, oh, I know you're depressed because your shoes are ugly. So all of a sudden the guy's smiling, and the guy says, well, you can't commit suicide if you're smiling. You understand? He breaks states. The same concept here. We have to break our state of this paranoia, this craziness. So God says, I'm going to forgive you. You know, I'm going to forgive you. I'm going to forgive you for saying that you're grasshoppers, but I'm not going to forgive you for saying that they thought of you as a grasshopper, because that's an emotion. You understand? How do you know they didn't look at you as angels? How do they know they didn't look at you as kings? How did they didn't speak to the Canaanites? So the Baal Shem Tov says here, people that are, he's saying here, people that are most gifted, they have so much success, they have so much, and they don't think themselves as enough. What happens? They create a story, and that's their life. And that's the punishment, because God's giving you so much talent, and you're walking around like a nebuch. You're walking around like a nebuch. So he says, whatever the source of low esteem is an emotion, it's not factual reality. We have a habit of always jumping ahead of ourselves all the time. You know? Oh my God, this happened, it's going to be like this forever. How old are you? 22? What do you mean forever? So you had a bad conversation with your boyfriend. Is that going to be forever? The stereotype, the catastrophe, it's in our blood to be able to have a lot of drama and catastrophe. So you have to be careful. Is that true? No, it's not true. It's just I'm creating catastrophes. So the concept that God, so what happened here is that why did Nachman why was he able to get so rewarded? Because he overcame his fear of drowning. Nachman said, you know what, if I go into this Red Sea, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drown. When you overcome your fear, when you use your intellect to overcome your fear, that's when you get all the success in life. When your intellect says, you know what, I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not going to be afraid of this. That's when everything else succeeds for you. That's the greatest thing you can do to give God, is when your head overcomes your heart's emotions. So look what he says. The Baal Tanya says that this is when a person's intellect triumphs his emotion, that's why, and he says here, the reason why they fell, the reason why God was so upset at them is because they had so much lack of mindfulness. God split the Red Sea for you. He sits there and miracles across the board, and next thing you know, you tell him you're a grasshopper. How much can a person do? So their emotions were guarding their lives. They were making decisions based on emotions. So their problem here, what happened is they surrendered to their emotions. That's where the punishment. It says, I cannot forgive you for this. I can forgive you for not having self-esteem, working on it little by little. But I cannot forgive you for surrendering yourself to your emotions and not being mindful and letting your emotions drive your life. Does that sound familiar with people? Their emotions are driving their life. This is despised by God. This is despised by God. They didn't get punished for the trial. They got punished for lack of mindfulness. And it says, this I cannot forgive you for. So what is he saying here? This teaching should apply. If a person is going through a situation, and you know what he should say? You know what? Let me ask a third person. What does he think about my situation? I want to ask an honest opinion. Ask a third person. Am I overdoing it? Ask your friend. Are you overdoing it? Yes, you're overdoing it. Should I be thinking like that? That's what you're supposed to do. But when we surrender to our emotions, then our emotions take over our life. So from the parsha, we have to understand that we have to have our intellect rule over our emotions. And that's what I see today that's not happening. Because there's a famous Gemara. It says a person has to love himself before he loves others. You have to love yourself. You have to love yourself. If you love yourself, you would never talk to yourself like that way. You would never have negative self-speech. You would never do that. Would you want it to somebody else? So you can't do chesed outside and not do chesed inside. That's why Rav Nachman's main emphasis. Azamra, Focus on the good in your life. You have so much good, but the emotions are taking over your life. And this is happening. This is why people get depressed. People have anger. If you looked at it as is, okay, today's Tuesday, it's only this. That's it. It's nothing else. View it as is, not worse than it is. People have a habit of seeing a situation and saying, it's never going to work out. I'm stuck. Who says you're stuck? Tomorrow you can make a decision, your life changes. That's the power. But when your emotions take over your life, it becomes a distortion of your reality, which never existed, because the Jews were never supposed to be grasshoppers. They were supposed to spy out the land and look. But what happens is in life, whatever you focus on, you will see. And we also know this from this part of the week. When the Jews were there, what were they saying? Look, everybody's burying the funeral. They're burying all the people. The people are buried alive. It's a land that eats its inhabitants. Again, catastrophe. It's not true. God caused the funeral so they were able to spy out to the land. But you know what? If their real purpose of going there was, saying, we don't want to get out of our comfort zone. What happens if we get out of this? We're going to lose our leadership. So they're real. They didn't want to lose their leadership. So what happens? They created a distortion of a story, and that story became chaos. And next thing you know, you cried for nothing. So what did God say? Because you cried for nothing, every Tisha B'Av, I'm going to give you something to cry about. Why did you create this mess for yourselves? Why did you create this image? Why did you create this mess? Who told you to create this mess? This is what happens when a person's not mindful of what he's thinking about, because one bad day becomes 2 bad days, 3 bad days, and then you have bad weeks, then you have bad months, and then you have stories. And today, the people that are suffering are the people with stories, and that are not even real, they're not even true. That's why I want to prove to everybody, and I'm going to come out with the singles website, to show everybody that it's only in their heads that there's a problem with the single scene. I'm going to show that there's so much abundance of singles out there, and you're not looking in the right places, and your mind frame is created that reality because you're burnt out. It's an emotional decision. It's like a guy who goes on 10 dates, he can't find, what does he say? There's no girls anymore. You're the only guy, there's no girls, doesn't exist. So I want to create this website to really get rid of, not only through that, but through education and creating new stories. That means, don't just think because you went on a couple bad dates, everybody's like this. Like I said, it's like racism over here. Spiritual singles racism. You go on a couple bad dates, everybody's bad. So why? Why are you thinking like that? Because this is the way your mind has been programmed, and this is the story you've been telling yourselves. And it's a distortion. It's not true. It's not true. We set up a girl's getting married the other day. She's getting married. I set up another couple. God willing, they're going to get married soon. There's things happening behind the scenes, but the people are open-minded. They don't have the stories. So that's something we have to, even in our lives. This applies to our lives. We got to get rid of the distortion. We got to find out the story that's killing our life and change the chapter. Get a new author. Get a new book. Get a new something. Just get out of that story. Rabbi Nachman says something very beautiful. So here, remember, the punishment didn't come from thinking of yourself as a grasshopper. It came from the emotion tied to saying it's over, we're stuck here, all the complaining, and that what happens is when we get frustrated, what happens? We complain, and then we look at everybody else and we feel frustrated. I'm stuck. This guy's making money. That guy's making money, and you feel like you got life half empty. This is the problem. It's not the world. It's your head. Your head, your mouth, and your faith. Those 3 things, Rav Nachman says, are the causes of all the problems in your life. And I see it. I almost look for the story that's going to come so I can take it and change their story. It's all it is, because the story is really a belief that happens. And then what happens is when we get stuck in these ruts, then we don't become what we're supposed to be. We don't go into our mission. We don't go into our soul state, and then we miss out on life completely. And that's what the problem is. Rav Nachman says something very beautiful. He says, a person's name is determined according to his mission in his life. Your name, you have a mission. Your name is given to you on what your purpose is on your mission, and your job in life is to go find what your mission is. We all are good at some things in our life. Our job is to develop those talents we're going to talk about a few of those, are to develop those talents to become the best version of ourselves. Whether it could be you could be the best mother, whether it could be you could be a PR agent. God gave you speech. God gave you to become the best writer. You are supposed to take God's gifts, and you're supposed to use your thoughts and your vision to get to that destination. So when you're really happy is when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. When you're unhappy is when you're copying other people. I mean, you're not in your lane. You're out of your lane. You're never going to hit. I promise you, I've yet to see one guy that was able to make it through the highway on switching 2 lanes. Eventually, he crashed. He got into an accident. His car flipped over. Whatever happened, you don't make it in 2 lanes. And you'll even get a ticket for improper lane change. That's what. You can get a ticket. Improper lane change. You're in the wrong lane. You're in the wrong lane. But that's what the Yetzer Hara, he knows. The Yetzer Hara is very good. He uses social media, and he uses the comparison reality. He uses that. And he gives you no hope. See, he gives you no hope. He's very good. That's why I'm trying to tell you. Rabbi Rush says, the Yetzer Hara is not even working. He retired a long time ago. Once Instagram came out, I'm done. There's nothing. There's no work left. There's no work left. The people will kill themselves. The people will kill themselves. My wife is a designer. She has a company called Holt. And I see her customer base. I see the models. None of these models have 1% confidence. Zero confidence, zero, and they're very, very attractive models, and they have zero, not even a peanut has more confidence, and you would think that these are runway models, and they have zero confidence, just to show you, because it's all comparison, that girl, because there's always going to be somebody prettier than you, there's going to be always somebody successful than you, there's always going to be somebody stronger than you, always going to be something better than you. Your job is to focus on yourself, not focus on them, and then you could ruin the whole thing. That's why they're all on drugs. Why? How could they all be on drugs? Because they can't cope with not being number one. See where the ego takes us? The ego is very good. It's very, very good. It's a professional. He says sometimes a person he gets sick because he completed his mission in this world. So that's why sometimes they change a person's name. Why do they change a person's name when he's sick sometimes? Because when a person's sick, sometimes they change his name because he already did his mission. Some people have a small mission in this world. It could have been just to get married, and that was done. That was enough for the guy, you know. He got the full voltage in one shot. Another guy could have been that he's very stingy from a past life. So what does he do? He comes back as rich, and he has to break his nature of stinginess. Another guy comes back as depressed, and he has to come back in this world and has to fight happiness. You know, some people are born with extra depression than others. They can't fight it. Their whole job in life is to fight their depression. Where another guy is generally more happier, but he has his problem in his life could be something with impulses, with the Brit, or whatever it is. You have a mission, and according to your weakness, that is your mission. You understand? Whatever's bothering you, whatever is bothering the heck out of you, that's what you usually have to go fix. That's what you have to go fix. That's what you were created to do, to come back. And once you fix that, that's when you do teshuvah, God puts you into your mission. That's another advantage of doing teshuvah, if anybody's interested. I know a lot of people, they're afraid to keep Shabbat. What are people going to think about me? What are my friends going to say if I start keeping Shabbat? They're going to think I'm a fanatic. Or they're afraid to keep kosher. Oh, I'm going to lose all my friends. All this. Peer pressure. I said, you're going to live for other people? This is the way you want to live the rest of your life? So how about if your friend becomes a Buddha? How about if 10 of your friends become Buddhists? You're gonna go in the Himalayas and start becoming a yogi? Where is the control? When does that stop? When do you say it's enough is enough? You're just gonna follow anybody anywhere? You know, I know people that I say, how the hell did you get? How'd you get here? Oh, my friends, I had peer pressure, and next thing the guy's in the Himalayas and doing Buddhism. I said, how'd you get here? He follows. You follow. When you're not original, you just follow the herd. You follow everybody else. So when a person, that's why he's saying our name, we have a specific name, and our name is our mission. So if we look at the 13 midos of rachamim that God gave us, the 13 measures of rachamim, basically certain people have a little bit extra than other people in certain areas of their life. For example, if some people are much more empathetic than other people, those are people that are meant to be counselors. You know, I know people that are named nachman, nachama, means to console. So for that kind of person, it would be great to go into the rehab industry or to go into a consultation industry. So they're able to become the best counselors as possible. Another person can have the name Kel, power and leadership. That guy would be, he has to be the CEO. You understand? For example, Rachum, compassion. That would be, again, these are different things that God gave us. For example, Hashem, the first midos, means consistency, never giving up, perseverance. Somebody can be born with that gift. He could be a top athlete. How does the athlete make it? How does the guy able? So he takes that talent and he rides it. Another one could be Kel, which means power and leadership. So some people are born much more powerful than others. It's not means that they're better people. They just got a different thing. They're not going to be the guys talking to a person in addiction telling him life's going to be okay. That's not for him. He's got no patience for that. He's an attorney. He's screaming at other people. That's the gift that God gave him. So we can't talk about people's metabolism. You know, why is this guy eating all the time and I'm not eating, and I'm eating nothing and I'm gaining weight and he's not gaining weight? Okay, you're right. Good answer. So go eat what you want and become sick. That's literally what you're saying. Literally. So Chanun means empathy, sincerity. These are good people for counselors. So everybody has one of these or two of these things that they have in them, and they're better than another person. That's why it's good to get married to somebody who's a little bit opposite of you. So you complete each other. Maybe you're powerful and they're more likely to be empathetic. So the best thing is a marriage. It shouldn't be two Smurfs. It shouldn't be. If you're looking for a good marriage partner, you don't want to be the same. You don't want a copy of you. Well, how are you going to get me? How am I going to become? Two attorneys screaming at each other? Well, how's that going to work out? You want to be able to elevate. A good marriage partner is somebody that can take your weaknesses and be able to strengthen them. So people are looking, oh, he's not like me. Is he? Okay, you're fire and he's ice. You need room temperature. You can't just have too much heat or too much cold. You need room temperature. Really, if you know you married the right person, they had to complete what you're off. That's what you have to really look at. Because remember, marriage is two souls in one. Once you have synergy, once you have homeostasis, once you have balances, then you have the soul thrives. That's when there's shefa. That's when there's bracha in the family. But when there's lack of synergy, what happens? Then there's no blessing. There's no blessing, there's no vessel, there's no nothing. So that's why the first thing you look at is look at somebody that can complete you. I'm a lot of chesed. I love to do chesed. My wife is gevura. So for us, it became teferet. It became a good mix. Because different mentality, Moroccan with different mentality. I'm half Ashkenazi, half normal. And so it was a good balance. But sometimes when you have too much heat in one area, somebody's going to blow a fuse. So that's why it's another thing. Because God gave her specific things. She's there to help you, you're there to help her. That's the perfect marriage. So that's what we have to always be. When a marriage is based on taking, only giving, what are you doing for me? Instead of giving, that's how you know the marriage is not going to work. If the marriage is based on giving, I'm going to help you become the best version of you. You're going to help me become the best version of me, even though the truth hurts sometimes, but it'll set you free. Then you have synergy, you have a beautiful marriage. But when you have the opposites, when they're not helping each other, oh, this guy didn't do this for me, that guy didn't do that for me, then it just becomes a competition, and it becomes, instead of having soulmates, you have roommates. And because there's lack of synergy. So, again, other ones would be creative. Notzer chesed, when a person is blessed with creativity, ideas, music, art, that's a gift from Hashem. I'm not an art person, but people are. They're born with that. They're born more prevalent with that thing. So now we know that the answer is in us. The answer is in us. We have to get to work. I tell people, it's a full-time job working on yourself. You have no time to worry about other people. You understand? It's 24 hours working on yourself to get to where you need to go. You have time to sit there and talk about what other guy's mission is? You have none of your business. And that's what the Satan does. The Yetzer Hara, he does that. He makes you focus on other things except for you. He makes you focus outwards instead of inwards. And then that's it, he won. That's all he needs to do. All right? So I think we got, and this is, Rab Natan, the student of Rab Nachman. His father was a very, very, very successful rabbi. He could have been a very, very successful rabbi, but you know what he did? He left his house. He left everything to be a student of Rabbi Nachman because he knew that was the right thing to do. And if it wasn't for Rabbi Nachman right now, if it wasn't for Rabbi Natan, there wouldn't be one paper printed today of Rabbi Nachman. These are people that went against the odds, even on Shavuot. The self-sacrifice of Ruth. What did Ruth do? She was the daughter of a king. What did she do? She found the truth, and she went to go get the truth, and she gave up becoming a queen to all of a sudden pick weed on the ground. So the key is, when you see the truth, let nobody get in your way. You got to go, and you got to focus, and you got to turn the vision to the decision. All right? That's today's class. Any questions? Anybody have any questions? Thank you.